Well, hey, you guys, welcome back. You're listening to Andrea with From Mrs. to Ms. I have my bestie here with me again today. The
Hey,
beautifully, wonderful, amazingly talented Amy Watts is here with me. Hi,
keep selling
Amy.
it, girl. And you are all the same things. Super fun to
That's
be
why
back
we
with you today.
connect so well.
Totally.
I love having Amy. For those of you who haven't listened, go back and listen to some of the previous episodes. We've had great discussions about how to travel with a new friend, new
Mm.
partner, new relationship, how that might be. We talked a lot about body image, and we've had so many good conversations. So I brought her back again today because I want her to start joining me more religiously because she has such great insight. She is also a
Mm.
certified life coach. She's an RN. She has a wealth of knowledge. And so I'm so excited to have you here, Amy, because we've got some stuff to talk
Let's
about
get
today.
into all this stuff. And let me I just feel the need to say all the amazing things about you too. Like your energy on this.
Please.
Yes, okay, sit back. Do you need a drink?
Ready? Ready?
Perfect. The vibe, the energy, the way that you
Mm,
just draw a crowd. You're an amazing storyteller, and I love your insights, your opinions, your freedom of speech that you practice. It's just a
thank
good
you.
time. It's a good
I am
time. I love it.
not afraid to talk about a penis.
You're
Woo!
not shy.
I'm not shy. I'm not shy. Not shy.
There are
I
many
like it.
things that I could say to describe you, even in our short friendship, that I have come up with. Shy
Yeah.
is never going to be on that list.
That is
Never going
so
to be on that
funny.
list.
That is so wild because I was thinking about that the other day. I used to be really nervous and shy and more of an introvert. I know. And I was talking about this
Andrea, who?
because I know it's so crazy. So, just a little backstory, real quick. So, I am actually creating a new podcast that is going to be coming out soon called the Menopause Love Lounge. And
Oh
so
God, you
I'm
guys,
going
this
to
is going to be
announce it.
so good.
So good.
Yes.
I'm announcing it right now, just kind of dropping little hints on it because it's coming probably in October. And it is five other amazing certified expert women on dating, relationships, divorce, homeopathic remedies, all of the above. And we are joining together, kind of like The View, to talk about menopause. And so it's more of a discussion. We are telling our hot flash confessions. We are doing never have I ever games and really like talking about, again, body image. We're talking about identity and self expression, all of these different things. So, I'm preparing for our next episode, which we are talking about self expression. And so the question for me was, what is self expression to me and how has it changed since I was in my 20s and 30s? And when I really thought
Oh
about it, I was
shit.
like, right? And I was like,
Yeah.
wow, like you even just saying that I'm so open and outgoing. I've always been kind of an extrovert. I'm a Leo. I like to be center of attention. I like all of that good stuff. But I used to be terrified to talk on the phone, even. I mean, I would get so nervous talking to anybody. Back in when I was younger, I modeled. And so, like, my agent would call and say, hey, we have an audition for you. Actually, they'd page me on my beeper. And that's how old we're talking. And I would see it and I would then message my mom or call her and go, "Hey, I'm so busy. Can you call them for me and find out what they need?" It was just to tell me
Because you
about
didn't
an
want to talk on the
audition.
phone.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would have her call in for
And
me all the
now
time.
you are bringing tens of thousands of people together with your voice and your
Together.
stories. And this next podcast, I've gotten a little inside info from you've shared something. It's going to be
Yes.
phenomenal.
I
Phenomenal.
can't
And I
wait.
think
I
it
am
sounds really funny too.
Oh, it's so funny because we
Yeah.
are being just totally raw and real, and that's what I'm
So
loving
good.
about it. Is when I created it, I had it in my mind what I wanted it to look like and sound
Mhm.
like. But these women are bringing it because they are all not afraid to just talk about where they are in life, what they're feeling. I mean, one of them is like, I said, what's the hardest thing for you right now? And she's like, I've got massive boobs and hemorrhoids. And I'm like, yes, yes,
Welcome
like
to Life After
to
40. Yeah.
yes. And so that is like my love of it.
So
We're
fun.
aged from 45 to 62 and we are
Ooh,
covering
I love
every
that.
we're covering every base of menopause, perimenopause, the whole, we don't care, like
Mm-hmm.
everything. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
really excited about that coming out. So everybody will have to
It's
tune
going to be
into that.
excellent.
But thank you for those kind words. I was just sharing how I feel I've really changed in that aspect. And I love that I'm just letting
Sweet.
myself be me. So thank you for
Celebrate that all day long. Yes.
woo, woo. So I've kind of mentioned, I guess, in here like penises and all of the things that we love, like maybe within our relationship or outside. And so I thought it was a great time to talk about kind of open relationships. We haven't really talked too
Yeah.
much about that. And I
Okay.
love this discussion because I think across the board, there's so many different feelings about it. I think that a lot of women are open to it for maybe themselves, but not necessarily with their partner or for anything to happen with their partner. They maybe would like their
Mm,
partner to be watching from a distance, or some are just a flat no. I have talked in length, I've done a whole podcast with someone that talked about polyamory, and that was just fascinating to me
it is
how they
fascinating.
played that out. Yeah. Oh, we did talk about that on our little cruise trip we took. I think we talked a little bit about polyamory and this couple that
We
they
did.
allowed each other to go out and have dates with other people and come back and all of that thing. What is your take on all of like open relationships? Are you yay or nay on all of that?
I mean, I hate to do anything black and white, right? Because I think
Yeah.
there are not absolutes. And, I was a different person 20 years ago. I'll be a different person 20 years from now. I can
Yeah.
say that where I am now, it is a definite no for me. I am so into my man, and he is so into me. And there's nothing that we would need or want to add to that. And
Okay.
I mean, full transparency also, I think like I would have some stuff around that. I would need some extra therapy sessions to process it and stay
Yes.
emotionally mature.
Yeah.
um that to me is the biggest piece. I think people who make that decision, like, kudos. I mean, especially if it's
Hmm.
going smoothly and both people in the real say it's an open relationship, right? If both of you in the
Hmm.
in that committed space feel fulfilled,
Yeah.
and don't if you're being honest and you're speaking your truth and you work through things, then I think that's super cool. You found something that works beautifully for you. So I have no
Yeah.
judgment around it. It's not for me today. I am
It's not for
beyond
you.
satisfied in my relationship, and I
Yeah.
love the committed. I love that intimacy. I love not having to worry about outside perspectives, or
Yeah.
not feeling good enough. Did they want to add to this relationship because I'm not enough? Or so I think
Mm.
that you have to be a really solid person. Again, if it truly feels good in your soul, then I mad respect for like the work that you've done to get there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And do you think, in just from your perspective on it, that sometimes people engage in these outside relationships in hopes of fixing their relationship internally, or because
Yeah.
something's missing within them and they need to feel something else? Where do you think that comes
Yeah.
from?
Yeah, so I think, there are 75 answers to that question for
Yeah.
sure, at least.
Just give me one.
Um, yep. So I think that it can be, it can fall under like, well, I'll do anything to please my man, even if I don't, or partner. Let me just say that,
Yeah.
anything to please my partner. If that's what will make them happy, then I'll do that, even if it goes against how I feel. Maybe it goes against what I
Hmm.
believe. Maybe I agree to it, but then it feels really shitty afterwards. But I see that my partner's loving it, and I don't want to risk this
Oh,
relationship because I'm super insecure, and like maybe this is the best it's ever going to be. And right, like there could be a lot of stories
yes.
there. So I think that knowing your why are you
Yeah.
choosing to enter into this rock fucking salad? Like, know that and like it.
Yeah.
And then communication, I would assume, would have to be super open between the two of you to really be vulnerable and talk about, like, this is how I felt when you were out on a date with somebody else the other night. And I know we said
Mm.
that we're cool with it, but this came up. Like, can I just have a space to talk through that?
Yeah.
And safety. And then there's like the logistics of, like, protecting yourself from STIs and,
Yeah.
all of that fun stuff too. So
Yeah.
multi-layered.
Gosh, you're right. And I think there's so many different avenues that we could go on this conversation, because there is
Mhm.
that part of it where you're thinking, okay, how does it make me feel if I know that he is out dating somebody else or something else is going on? And you and I have talked about this because I've gone through some personal situations where I'm like, ooh, I don't know that I totally want a full-on relationship with this person. And so, maybe I'm dating other
Yeah.
people or they're dating other people. But then if I am getting a little like anxiety about it, or it bothers me
Mm.
that he is dating other people, where that's the hardest question for me. Where do you go from there? Because now if I approach it in the way of like, hey, I'm really uncomfortable with you dating other people within our relationship, I kind of want us to just be dating each other. But if I'm not ready for
Mhm.
that, how do I request that from him because now it
Right.
puts me in a spot. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah,
it's
totally
just,
makes sense. I think that
yeah,
maybe those are two different animals, right? One,
yeah,
like you're already in a committed relationship or yeah, a committed relationship with another person, and then you decide to expand those boundaries and open the relationship versus or not so much versus, but then an additional scenario of kind of what you just mentioned of like
yeah,
I'm dating this person. I'm not dating other people. They're dating other people. I'm not really sure I want to throw this out there of like, I want to be fully committed because maybe I do, maybe I don't. But I also feel a little weird about the fact that he may have slept with somebody else a couple days ago.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a
exactly.
tricky one.
It's really tricky because you're trying to
Yeah.
keep it very, you want to keep your your claws in the relationship a little bit. You want to have control of it, but I also,
Mhm.
I don't know. You're like, oh gosh, if I push too much, I'm pushing for something maybe I'm not ready for too. So it's that weird
Yeah.
dynamic, right? Of
I would
that.
think clarifying that would probably be like the maybe the a great first step, right? Whether
Yeah,
that's with a therapist, with a friend, with your coach, with whoever,
yeah.
really clarifying like, okay, why am I feeling this? Is it just a
Hmm.
jealousy? Is it just an insecurity? Or is it because no, I really actually want to commit to this person and I haven't said that yet? Or it's like kind of what you just said. I see some great potential with this person, but I'm not really sure I'm ready to 100% commit. And if I go in there being like, yo, I don't want you seeing other people, then obviously I'm just, opening myself up
Yeah,
to
I
that sort of
can't
scenario.
go,
So
but I'll be back
clarity
next
for
week
sure.
after my date with somebody else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you're, it's
Yeah.
like this crazy spot that it puts you in. But yeah, I think
Mhm.
also I'm always on the fence with the open relationship stuff. So I did a really
Okay.
great episode before about polyamory, like I mentioned, and just talking all about that and the dynamics of that. It was a couple that were married and they were both open to dating other people. And I was like, I couldn't ask enough questions fast enough. I was like just enamored by it because it's such a lifestyle I'm not used to, right? So that's fascinating in itself.
Yeah.
But I needed to know, like, what does that look like? What does it look like when he goes out? What are you doing? And she was very much like, my routine is very set when he goes out on a date. He makes my favorite dessert. Then
Mm.
I'm sitting, I watch a movie that I've already seen. I don't need any surprises at all within the evening. I might masturbate and take care of myself. I might take a warm bath, do some facial stuff, all this stuff to make myself feel very much at ease. And then I go to bed. And when he gets home, we make time to talk about it, whether it's 2 in the morning or whatever. She's like, we'll get in the shower and we just talk about it as much or as little as he wants to give. And I'm like, oh my God, that is fascinating to
Okay.
me.
Well, the
You know?
first part of how you explain that makes perfect sense because she's creating safety and routine and ritual for her brain to not be have this
Hmm.
space to spin out and write stories. And maybe that wouldn't even be an issue for her, but she's proactively or preemptively created this. Her brain's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, this is what we're doing. We've never died from this before. It's safe.
Hmm.
And I love that they, okay, first of all, I love that they take a shower together because you just came from being with another one. Get your ass in the shower.
Yes, in the
Yes.
shower. And
Um,
let's bring this
but
back to
together
us
is
now.
kind of cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it sounds like there's an immediate reconnecting. So it's not again, not for me,
Hmm.
but it sounds like they've set that up beautifully.
Yeah.
What was one of your
Yeah.
takeaways
I
like
just
from that
don't.
conversation? Because it is very interesting.
Yeah, I loved the security that they felt for each other. She didn't seem worried about, him finding somebody else. That would be my biggest concern. You go into your insecurities. What if? What if,
Mhm.
he goes out on a date and he feels something more for her than he does for me? What if he something happened? What if he gets her pregnant? What if, he finds more of a connection? There's so many different routes that this could take, and same for her because she has the autonomy to do the same thing, right? She can go out and date as well. But is
Yeah.
that truly giving 100% to your relationship as a whole, or are you kind of half-assing it then because you've put
Mhm.
your feelers out here for other people? I know for a fact for myself, I can often determine how I feel about somebody and where I see it going based on if I'm ready to get off the dating apps, I'm ready to not date anybody else. That's
Yeah.
usually a pretty quick gauge for me. I find myself like all of a sudden completely disinterested in looking at the dating apps. I'm content with pursuing something that might come along, right? So, but if
That's
I'm in
brilliant
something,
awareness.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I
because you
I
could
love that I've kind
always,
of figured that out.
yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
because we can always be looking for something more, something different, something better. I
Yes.
personally, in full transparency, I've been stuck in that. I came out of a marriage, a
Mhm.
22-year marriage that I qu- decent human, nobody did anything wrong. It was just the end of the
Mhm.
story. So not here to bash anyone by any means, but I kind of knew really throughout the entire marriage that it wasn't that I was settling in a sense, right? But I never, I mean, we were 100% committed. There were no issues of straying from the marriage. You know, it was, that was not an issue at all. But so then when I started dating post divorce, there
Mhm.
was this fear of like, well, do I trust myself to choose the right person, or do I need to keep
Ah.
looking like, am I settling? Am I, and
Yes.
this amazing man that I'm with now, I actually have broken up with twice throughout our
Yeah.
3 years together now. Because I think part of it, probably multi-layered, but a huge part of it to this conversation was, um, but do I trust myself? I mean, I know he seems amazing, but is this what I'm supposed to do for the rest of my life? Because I thought I was supposed to do that
Mm.
22-year marriage for the rest of my life. And then I realized like it wasn't. So there was this fear, but what, you know, then doing the work, to your point too, like you recognize when I'm content, like this
Yeah.
man is, or this person, this partner is offering what I was looking for and beyond. So it's training, not training your brain, it's recognizing that and accepting that, and not constantly having this scarcity mindset of like, but am I
Yes.
missing something? Because
Yes.
then you can fully pour into, you can become who you're supposed to be through that relationship. Yeah, so I love that you
Mhm.
recognize that. And that leads me to the question then, with this polyamory or an open relationship, I wonder, is it something that they feel they can't, does someone who chooses an open relationship feel that they can't get their needs fully met from one person? I'm just
Mm.
curious, like what kind of, what's the driver behind that? Outside of maybe
Yeah.
it's fun, it's exciting, exploring.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great question. I'm trying to think of what her answer was. This was probably almost a year ago. I interviewed her, and I really need to have her back and get an update. It would be fun. But
Ooh,
yeah,
yes.
I know, right? I need to get an update on where they're at. What if they were like divorced now? I'd be like, shit, I told you that wasn't
I
right.
mean, anything's possible.
Anything's possible. But
And it could be right for you at a period of time. And then as you grow and
and then
change
it's
and evolve and
not.
know yourself deeper, then it's suddenly not right for you.
Mhm.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm. And I often wonder if a big component in looking for an outside relationship is FOMO. You know, it's just that fear of missing out on something better, something more exciting, because we do get stuck in a rut. It becomes a little bit mundane. We become complacent. We're all just kind of going through the motions. The sex becomes the same, the dinners, and that's why we say there's things though that you can do to change the dynamic of your
Yes.
relationship and really try to get it in like a more exciting place, right? There's so many things you can try, different things sexually with your partner solely. Maybe you bring in some new toys that you haven't tried before. You go to the toy store together and pick out some things that you guys can do
Mm,
together. Maybe it's watching porn together. Some people really enjoy that and that works for them. Um, I,
hmm.
I'm like hit or miss with that. I don't know. I don't have to have it, but it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. So,
It's not my jam, but we
it's
create
such
our
a
own.
jam. Yeah, right? Because it can also be very disillusioning when
But
people are looking at porn going, why
for
aren't we
sure.
doing that?
Yeah.
You know, you were going to say
To
something?
your point though, of like that, the mundane, I think of it, again, I'm a psychiatric nurse, life coach, all things brain. I've studied human
Yeah.
behavior in the brain for 25 years. So I bring it back to like the neurochemistry, like, when you're seeking that dopamine hit, or that the excitement, right, of a new relationship, I wonder
Hmm.
if that's part of, having an open relationship, but not but. And um for those who choose to be in a committed relationship, or a not open, whatever the opposite of that would be,
Um,
it's,
Monogamous,
yeah, okay, yes, thank you.
right?
That was
Okay.
very obvious. Thank you. Thank you, Andrea, for your help with my
Oh,
vernacular
my
this morning.
contribution.
Um, but to think about like it goes back to the old cliche, the grass is always greener. Well, water the grass where you're at first,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Like, how
100%.
can we spice this up? All those things that you just said, because it is any relationship. You could be the two of the most exciting humans on the planet with the most exciting life, and shit's going to get mundane at some point.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yes.
you have to know, again, I think it's just that clarity, like explore what it is that you're looking for. Is this the space for me to seek that, or is it appropriate for me to go seek it elsewhere? Maybe I'm not going to get it
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I think in my past, which I've really tried to work hard to change, is I've always kind of been like trying to one up everything, whether it's,
Mm,
sexually or doing things, you're like, oh, well, that was really fun. Like, what's the next thing we can do? And at some point, you're going to hit
cool.
hit the ceiling, right? Like where you're like, okay, if I'm not upping the ante every single time we're together, is this a solid relationship without those changes or without the dynamics changing within the relationship, right? Can I just stay? Can we be content with how we are, how our sex life is, how our relationship is, how our date nights are? Can we be content with that? Or do we have to search for something outside because we're constantly looking for something to keep it exciting? That's a hard place to be, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's where you need to understand why you have to
Hmm.
constantly one up it and then you hit a ceiling, right?
Hmm.
Because that's if that's
Hmm.
the pattern that you're seeing within your, and I'm not saying you, if that's the pattern that
Yep.
someone is seeing within themselves, then it's a pattern, it repeats.
It's a pattern.
Right? So in order
Yes.
to break that pattern, you want to figure out what's underneath that. Do I want to continue on this trajectory? Great, then let me do that without judgment, and
Yeah.
enjoy it. But if this is frustrating to me and I find myself relationship hopping, then I probably want to figure out what's behind this pattern and how do I change it.
Yeah. I think that's a great idea. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, to answer, I asked you if you would ever want to be in an open relationship with your and your
Yeah.
current partner, and you quickly said no. But where do you think
Absolutely not.
this? And that comes from what? What would you say is the biggest reason why you're just
um
like, I already know? You're like, because he's
yeah, so people,
fine and I ain't sharing fine.
I mean, listen, there's that. The man is beyond fine. Yeah, and it's fantastic. But
Yeah.
no, that it doesn't align with my core values.
Yep.
Again, and I think core values are very personal, and I
Mhm.
don't judge anyone's. I think that's what makes the world go around. There are 8+ billion people on this planet with 8 billion different ways to live, and it's all, as long as people are safe. Obviously, that's something to be said here too, right? Everything's
Yes.
consensual and safe, and you're agreeing on, STI testing and protection, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
Kind of like what you said your guest talked about, like they create the safety,
Yeah.
they have the ritual, it's open communication. But yeah, so then there's insecurity for me, for sure. Like, of course, like I don't, well, if you like this other person better, then am I just out? Like it would just
Yes.
feel very emotionally unstable for me. And
Yeah.
I have a lifetime history of emotional instability in my family
You
of
don't need to
origin,
add
so
it.
I'm not bringing that shit into my adult life. So that's a huge
Yeah.
reason why too. Like, you're always
Yeah.
going to have space to write stories. There's always going to be uncertainty. I mean, one could argue that that exists regardless, right? Because we're all
Mhm.
autonomous individuals with free will. And,
Mhm.
someone you've been married to for 50 years could wake up tomorrow and decide that they want to see Doug down the street. So
Don't do Doug.
yes, it exists to some point, but you're really opening yourself up. And I just don't want to navigate that. I've got my energy goes to so many different places in life that I don't want that to be a big energy suck for
Yeah.
me.
I think that's a
Yeah.
great recognition in that, yeah, for you to just recognize it's not for me. And I think
Mhm.
a lot of people kind of get caught into, well, that's what my partner wants. And so I feel like I need to provide that opportunity for them or oblige them, and I'll admit in my younger days, I did do some of that stuff, and I felt like it
Mhm.
was more for my partner than it was for me. It
Mhm.
never turned out to, for me, it was the fantasy of it was way better than the reality. It just wasn't my cup of tea.
Okay.
Yeah, and so in this day and age, I just don't think, and I'm very secure in myself and who I am and what I bring to the table. Um,
Yeah.
I just think that opening up that door, it's not even about me not being enough. It's just something new. Something new and shiny can catch your eye very easily, right? And so
Yes.
then yes, and so then heads are turning, And then it's just the fact that that's something new and exciting. Whereas we're in this spot where things have been kind of maybe a little mundane or complacent. Right. So
Absolutely.
so you got to be real careful about that, you're not putting yourself in a spot where now they're seeing this shiny new object, which is probably not what they're really looking for down the road. They want
Mhm.
you, who they're with, but then it
Yeah.
creates this awkwardness, weirdness, and just,
Yeah.
can absolutely ruin a relationship.
I mean,
So,
to use a very professional phrase here, it can be a bit of a
yeah.
mind fuck, I'm guessing.
Yeah. So we bring the professionalism to the show, people.
Yes. And you're right. It's not so much, I mean, it's not that I'm an insecure person by any means, but I think you verbalized it well there. It's like,
Make you
yeah,
one.
it could, or question,
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, and okay, but also, so let's say you're the person that's like, hell yeah, I want you to go do that. And I want to go do that too.
Yeah.
Um, to me, that sounds emotionally depleting in it from a completely different lens of like, I'm, showing up with my date on Friday night while my
Mhm.
committed partner is at home or doing their thing. And so I'm giving everything to this. And then I want to go home and like process it and, text Andrea and
Yeah.
talk about it. But now I have to shift gears back into this.
It's
That sounds like
wild.
it could just, again, I come back to, it feels like that could take a lot of energy. You would almost have to
Yeah.
build your lifestyle
Exhausting.
around it, I think.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's exactly what it was. And I think that you have to shut your feelings off a lot of the times. So you're not
Hmm.
even really experiencing the situation because you have to be a certain way. What if you do go out on this date? You do maybe get the butterflies, the feelings. You guys have a great kiss goodnight. Now you come home and, like you said, you have to shift gears. Now I've got to be right back into my person that's at home. It is like having this secret relationship where you are having to hide how you feel about somebody else now that you're home with your real partner. Right.
Yeah,
And
so
that never
right when
plays
you
out well.
just started saying that, I definitely had a visceral reaction. It's like a red,
Mhm.
that's a fire alarm for me, because anytime that you are potentially shutting off your feelings, that's you
Yeah.
denying your truth and not, yeah, I cannot co-sign on that one.
Yeah.
So if that's part of what's coming up, like if this were one of my coaching clients, we would delve into that.
Yeah.
To either get you to a place where you can fully express in all of the spaces if this is what you want to continue, or to look at why are you doing something where you are recognizing that you're shutting parts of yourself off, and how is that going to impact you longer term.
Yes. Great point.
Oof.
Do you do you feel that there's a difference, like if you had somebody that you don't even know? It's a total
Mhm.
random person. You guys are like, hey, we're gonna go have this flipping awesome weekend in Las Vegas, the two of us, but we're gonna have one night where we're just gonna get crazy. We're gonna find us some hot woman on the dance floor and we're gonna take her upstairs and have a good time with her. The
Mhm.
three of us.
Okay.
So there's never any ties after the weekend. It's done. That's ended. Does that change your feelings?
I mean, it's very individualized. If you're asking me personally, I
You're
don't
like, nope.
know. I don't know, because I've never, no, I don't want to say, I mean, maybe that would be fantastic and exciting. I have a sense that there, for me personally, I sense that regret may come up at some point,
Yeah.
but maybe not. Maybe it would be a
Maybe it's
blast.
just a
Again,
fun
it's
weekend.
not something I'm going to choose to do, but it
Yeah.
could, I mean, yeah. See, for me personally, it would just be, I would be making those eyes and whispering those things in my partner's ears all night. You fucking wait till I get your ass upstairs. You know what I mean? That's what we,
I
and
love
that's
that.
where the excitement and the wildness and the freedom would come from.
I
And,
love that.
maybe planning something that we've never done before. And that's where that comes from. And then I know I'm going to have no regrets around
Yeah,
that. Right. So that just feels safe
absolutely.
and exciting for me, but
No, I
8 billion
absolutely
different
agree.
options.
Well, there's so many different things going on in our world today. And so you and I were kind of talking about this before, which is why we wanted to talk about in here is AI bots that are
Oh my
coming into
gosh.
our world and how we are relating to that. I've been hearing a lot about people feeling different emotions about it, some wanting to engage in relationships. And I actually had two people that reached out to me these past couple of weeks
Oh,
about with a scenario about this very thing. So I want to read those out in a
bring
minute. But
it.
like, what, tell me right off the bat, when I first say that, when I say to you, how would
Yeah.
you feel about if your partner came and said to you, hey,
Mm.
so I've been kind of engaging with an AI robot and I really love how the conversations go. It makes me feel a certain way. Are
Mhm.
you okay with me kind of bringing that into our relationship? I think I know your answer, but
Well, no, I
how do
mean,
you feel?
so this is a totally different level. First of all, so I have to take my like mental health professional cap off because there's some potential negative outcomes, right? From,
Yes.
and this is just any like non-human interaction that we, let me say this, if we're replacing human interaction, right,
Hmm.
that's potentially going to lead to some problematic outcomes. If
Yep.
this is something that you've discovered, I mean, you know, you also love golf and you spend a lot of time
Yeah.
doing that and it's not detrimental to your life, right? So I don't think it, I don't have an opinion. I'm not an expert in AI. It's new-ish for us in
Yeah.
the general public. I mean,
All
I
of
use
us.
it a
Yeah.
lot in my business, but um, so what would I say if my partner came? I would be curious. I would be very curious. Yeah, I would have all the questions like, okay, well, tell me, like, what is it? You know, what is this communication style? What is it that you're getting from it? That's so cool. Can I sit in on a session? Can I check this out with you? Like, what are
Yes.
you, do you want me to enter into any of these conversations with you, or is this just a separate space that you're enjoying? And thank you for sharing it
Mm.
with me. Like, yeah, I would be super curious.
Whew. I think it's like, it's a tough one because to me, it's very much you're now bringing in, I see it as bringing in a woman that is of perfection, somebody that is
Mm.
listening to you, that sees you, that laughs at your jokes, that is not interrupting you, that is providing support and encouragement and everything that you are needing on an emotional level, but they're not providing the physical level, right? So is it the same?
Except it's not providing. And so there's been some talk in the coaching and therapy world, mental health in general, of like people using AI for therapists and coaches.
Hmm.
And you can certainly get some great insight. And let me not knock it, right? I've done it myself to come up with some questions to self analyze. But what can be a problem is you get this constant, continuous positive feedback loop from the
Yes.
AI. So it doesn't
Yes.
tend to challenge um, and offer uh, maybe some constructive criticism. It tends
Yep.
to be, so I think you would, could be important to learn the right prompts, like, okay, I don't want you to agree with everything I'm saying here, I want you to challenge my ideologies around this and
Hmm.
offer me five different perspectives, right? Versus like, am I right in thinking this about my girlfriend? Because you're going to get a
Yeah.
response of, well, yes, and here's what supports your perspective, right? It's going to
Yeah.
agree, and it can turn into a bit of an echo chamber. So I think it's
Yep.
important to learn to use it. Or maybe there's an app, right? Somebody certainly has already developed or is developing something that will
Or
offer,
we're on it if they haven't.
or we're
Go
on it,
on.
girlfriend, we can retire at 50. Um, so yeah, I think you have to be very careful with what's being offered because it can be a constant dopamine feed too.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a slippery slope. Well, let
Yes.
me read off some of these questions that I got, and
Let's
then
hear
we can give our perspectives on it. Okay, so first of all, I have Deborah, and she's from Colorado, and she messaged me and she said, "Dear Andrea, I've been married for 15 years, and lately my husband has been spending more and more time on his phone. At first, I thought it was just social media or gaming, but I found out he's been having long late night chats with an AI companion app. He swears it's harmless, just someone who listens without judgment, but I feel like he's emotionally checked out of our marriage. Is this considered cheating? How do I compete with an AI bot that's programmed to say all the right things?" That is such a,
Ah,
when I read
what's your
it,
take
I
on
was
that?
like,
Yeah.
it reminds me of that movie, Her, back in the day with Joaquin Phoenix, and Scarlett Johansson was the voice. Way ahead of our time, which is almost scary that that's how
Mm.
we saw it. But very much the same thing. He found this companion that he was talking to every day, and she became this emotional support for him. He would talk to her about everything, and he, in the movie, fell in love with her. I'm like speechless because I'm like, where'd you even go with that? To me, I would consider that emotional cheating. I absolutely would, because especially because she says she feels like he's checked out of their marriage.
Mm.
So no longer is he having these same open, emotional, like discussions with his partner. He's now choosing to spend that with another woman. I'm using air quotes on that because it
Mhm.
is still that it's that person for him, right? Not a real person, but somebody who's responding a way a woman would, responding with feelings that a woman would feel in a way that's making him feel like she doesn't have judgment. He said that in there, right? She just listens without judgment. Well, Of course she is. She's programmed to
It's a
listen
computer.
without judgment. It's a computer.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I think this it makes me think about the fact that love is an internally generated experience. It comes
Hmm.
from the thoughts, our feelings, basic CBT, right? Your thoughts determine your feelings lead to your action or inaction, and then you get the result, your life, your experience,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
when he's like having this experience conversing with a computer, he's having again this neurochemical cascade of like, oh my God, he's choosing to believe like, oh, this feels amazing. And so he's telling himself
Yes.
all these things. He could apply, any person could apply
Mhm.
the same approach. We can develop feelings of love with someone that's not even conversing with us, right? Think about how you love someone who's passed on. They're not still here. You're not still having
Yeah.
a physical experience with them, but you have these eh, deep expressions and feelings of love. So we can do that
Mm.
interacting through a keyboard or voice messaging with AI, right?
Yes.
Because you're choosing to feel a certain way. So the problem there lies in this example where, like you just said, that he's emotionally checked out of his marriage. So he's moved
Yeah.
his emotional connection from his partner to this
Yeah.
AI. So
So now you're
let's
just a body.
picture, well, yeah, let's picture the society now that has done that. Let's say
Yeah.
60% of society now is not their partner is
Hmm.
AI.
Hmm.
Help me understand what our
I
society
I
looks like,
can't. It's
right?
terrifying. It is terrifying because it's so easy to do. I mean, we do it all day long.
Mm,
I wasn't even like chatting into Chat GPT. I would type in, ask a question. Of course, it's learning you as it goes, right? So,
right.
but now I found myself even, I'm like, hey, good morning. Like I'm talking like it is my partner. I'm like,
Totally.
hey, good
I
morning.
say
So I was
please and thank
wondering.
you.
Yes. And you're like, oh my God, that's so amazing. Thank you for sharing. You know what I mean? And you're having these full on discussions. And I'm just trying to get answers to simple things. But if I was lonely and I was looking for somebody to have those intimate conversations with,
Mm,
now I can have that. It's going to give me all kinds of feels, right? Like I'm
yeah.
feeling differently and I'm more excited to go and talk to my chat person. And now you've given them a name and you're making them almost this reality.
Personifying. Yeah.
Yes, and now it's in your head and you're thinking, and then I think of you going back to your partner and you're having this conversation with them and you're like, well, no, I told you that I wasn't wanting to do this, and then the partner's like,
Oh.
you know what I mean? Like, no, you didn't tell me. You told a robot who like gave you the response you wanted to hear. They're going to tell you what you want to hear for the most part because they're there to support you and please you and do all of those things.
Mhm.
It's scary.
That
It's
is
scary.
such an interesting point. Now, let me flip to the other side and look at some pros of this, right? I think
Okay.
it can increase our capacity for communication. I know when I use AI,
Yes.
it throws out some words that like shit,
Never even
like I
thought
forgot
about.
about that word. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like so I think
Yep.
it can or perspective, it can certainly increase our capacity and ability to
Mhm.
communicate.
Mhm.
Ideally, from my brain, ideally that would look like I would like to apply that of like, let me take maybe some communication challenges I've been having with my relationship, throw them through AI, pull
Mm.
that out, and then bring that into and try to use
I
that
love
to
that.
improve the communication in my relationship, right? Very different than it's developing an emotional connection
Yeah.
to an interaction that is non-human.
Yeah. I love
That
that.
just,
I
yeah.
love that idea that you had there is how can we take that specific scenario and turn it into something that does work within your marriage. So
Hmm.
you're not saying, no, I don't want you to be talking to this person anymore because they are maybe getting something out of it that they need. Maybe subconsciously you don't even realize it is opening up your communication between you and your partner
Mm,
because now they're seeing things from a different perspective, right? And they're more, I hate to say trusting of the AI, but when we hear something from somebody else, we're like, that's right. Uh, But when we hear it from our partner, we don't want to hear it. But somebody else tells us we're okay with it. So
yeah,
maybe
that's a
it's
great point.
allowing us to think a little bit differently. And then I like the idea of taking that and bringing it back into your marriage and
Mhm.
then trying to grow it instead of changing it to like where we don't talk anymore because now I have
Yeah.
this over here.
Well,
Oof.
and I think was this Deborah? Was that the writer's
Deborah,
name?
yeah.
Okay, so Deborah,
Yes.
I think she mentioned that she feels like he's emotionally cheating on her, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
I would want to know, like, okay, what are the gaps in this relationship, right? You could use it. You could use it as a
Yeah.
tool, just as you would if there were an actual physical person that your partner
Mm,
was cheating with. Like, wait, what, so what led you to that? Is there a
yeah.
are there deficits here in the relationship, or is it something, new and exciting, to come back to our previous conversation, right? That you're
Yeah.
looking for. Um, and then, so I also work in psych and addiction, so there's an addictive component to this too. Like you mentioned, like you can't wait, you're not interested in talking to your friends and your partner, you can't wait to get back into this conversation with this AI
Yes.
again.
Yes.
That has a potential for almost an addictive pattern as well.
Yep. Yep. Very, very scary.
Multi-layered.
So many. I know. Okay, so I have another scenario. So this is Kelly from Washington, and she says, okay, dear Andrea, I've been in an open relationship with my boyfriend for the past year, and it's worked because of our honesty and our boundaries. But now he wants to bring an AI girlfriend into the mix. He says it's not the same as being with another woman, that it's just fantasy and fun, but he also talks about her like she's a real person. I'm torn between feeling threatened and feeling ridiculous for being jealous of a robot. Am I wrong to see this as crossing the line?
Well, I just want to validate her first of all. Yeah, I'm feeling
Yeah,
ridiculous for being jealous of a robot.
a robot.
I
I
mean, okay.
know.
Then my brain, the fun part, my brain's like, "Oh, hold up. What is this, a threesome? What are we doing? What does this look like? So, what is
Yeah,
happening here?"
I mean, from the sounds of it, because he's saying he wants to bring an AI girlfriend, so we're already calling her a girlfriend, into
Ah,
the mix. And he says it's just fantasy and fun. It leads me to believe like we're bringing her in, like she is enjoying in every little motion that we're experiencing. I mean, I, I'm not sure what that looks like. Are we bringing in the computer like we would if we were going to watch porn? But instead, we bring up an AI bot
ah,
on there that we can go, ooh, Sally, I really, are you
yeah.
liking touching me there? And Sally's talking. Like, I mean, I've never tried that with an AI. I don't know. Are they responding like
I'm
that?
sure
Is
it's a
that
thing.
appropriate? I'm
I
sure,
don't
right?
know. Oh,
So
wow. This is so
I
interesting.
know. So is that crossing the line then? Of if she's allowing that, again, I think you have to look at it from what when you are allowing something like that, are you have to be okay with that. That's the first thing I
Hmm.
would say is
Hmm.
you're not doing it because he wants to do that and that makes him feel better. You have to be
Hmm.
okay with this scenario, right? Because where can this go? This could go like the conversation before where now he's completely checking out of your
Right.
particular relationship because he's getting his needs met elsewhere.
This is
Right?
uncharted territory for this
Yeah.
relationship, and probably for most, because this is
From a
just a newer even option, right? So
yeah.
let's lay out some ground rules, right? Let's
Yes.
clarify and understand that it's going to evolve and be fluid. So what we say today
Yeah,
are the ground rules, could definitely change after three
I'm
interactions.
sure.
So,
Mhm,
but it always comes back to, for me, she would need to know, like, is she comfortable doing this?
mhm,
I would want to jump in and figure out what is so attractive about this to my partner, and let me,
mhm.
maybe I can understand their needs and desires and what is intriguing to them. Maybe I can understand that better through this process. So
Yeah,
it could be a pro, it could be enhance the relationship, and it also could go
mhm,
like Deborah's, where now they're emotionally checked out. So then what?
yep.
Then you're getting a divorce. Is this a new, like, reason for divorce? Like AI
That
infidelity? What the hell?
that that's a great title. But that is definitely a scary thing, and you have to look at it, I just had this conversation with somebody about the whole AI stuff, about how much it is coming into our lives. We're all using
Mhm.
ChatGPT to help us write things better, come up with better questions, anything we're looking to do with that. So it is starting to replace some people's jobs, making other, certain
Mhm.
jobs obsolete. At some point, that is going to happen where we're having all of these AI bots. We have, cars driving with nobody in them. We don't need people at the toll booths, right? Because everything is just automized. So, automized, did I make up that word? Possibly. But, I think, I think that, and the response when I was asking those questions to this person about it was, well, I think that we have to move with the times. Like you can't
Mm,
stay in the spot you're in, and the world is changing
agreed.
outside of you, and you're expecting everything to stay the same, right? You have to change and adapt to those new changes. So is this something that's coming down the pike for all of us that we're going to have to
No, wait.
change?
I think you have to be aware of the changes. You don't have to be on board with them all. Just as a
Yeah.
parent can choose to not allow their 8-month-old to sit in the grocery cart with the screen in front of their face for the entire 45 minutes in the
Yes.
grocery store. Just because we
Right.
can doesn't mean we
Doesn't mean.
should. Be aware of what's
Mm.
out there, but you still get to define your own moral code and what's best for
Mhm.
you today, and maybe it changes tomorrow, and
Yeah.
maybe you wait until some of this research comes out and then you decide to jump on board, right? Let other people be the guinea pigs. I love that
Yes.
stance as
Like
well.
Deborah and Kelly.
Deborah and Kelly, whether
They're
they
our
chose that
guinea
or
pigs.
not. Yeah.
Yeah. So
um
what would you say if you had to just give, they came to you, your final words on what you would say to Deborah and Kelly in this situation? What would you say?
Yeah, get clear on how you feel about this first. Maybe even
Yeah.
practice this conversation outside of. It sounds like it's fragile, especially in Deborah's case, where the partner is kind of checked out already. I would practice that conversation with, a therapist, a coach, a friend,
Hmm.
and then go in and try to just non-judgment, curiosity, and this is my truth. How can we align this? Can we make this part of our lives to where it works for both of us? Or is this a deal breaker? Is this something,
Yeah.
do you see that this has become a problem for you? Is this something you want to continue? So all of the questions
Yeah.
to really come to discovery.
Great hit points. Yeah, and I think maybe also look at it as is this a way that we can utilize this to help our relationship grow with
Yeah.
still leaving that AI girlfriend outside of the relationship? We're not bringing her in, but let's sit down and talk about, okay, why do you feel that she's talking to you with no judgment? How can I do better to be an open and safe container for you to talk to me and have these conversations with
Mm,
me so you're feeling like you can have the same conversations you're wanting to have with her with me, and maybe
that is so
utilize
beautiful.
it, right? Maybe utilize it as a way to learn from it. Like,
Yeah.
maybe Deborah takes it and goes, you know what, he keeps saying that he wants to have this kind of thing in a relationship. He wants to be able to talk without being judged, and he wants to be able to have conversations without being interrupted. Well, maybe I need to look at myself and go, you know what, I do interrupt him a lot. I do kind of get judgy when he says things. So maybe
Mm,
utilize it as a learning tool instead of a
that is
support
so
system for
good.
your relationship,
So good. I
right?
love that. And then I just
Yeah.
had this thought. What if you just took all of these questions to AI, sat down, you and the
And
partner,
ask
right?
them.
The two people, like,
Yeah.
okay, okay, AI, Sally, I think is the name that you used
Yeah.
earlier.
Sally.
This is what has become of our relationship by bringing you. It's so weird to be referring to it
Yes.
in, okay. But anyway, you could put all of this into the AI and see what their output is, out of
I love that.
curiosity, not that we're like letting the compute, the AI, the technology determine what's
Yeah.
next. But wouldn't that be kind of interesting?
Very. I would also love to have
Wow.
like a couple hours. I don't think I would need a full day doing it where I would set it up. I kind of want to see what that feels like, not in a relationship way, just like having a person so that I could better answer these questions,
Mm,
bring up Sally. And I just kind of like throughout my afternoon chat with Sally as if she is my friend sitting here just to kind of get a vibe on how that feels. I'd be interested to do that little social experiment and kind of see how
okay.
that turns
Awaiting
out, right?
results. Awaiting
Awaiting
results.
results. I need to try it,
Yes,
see how it goes. That's
that's
gonna be good.
fun.
I love it. Oh my God, I love that discussion. I've never
Yeah,
really talked too much about AI, so it's scary to me that this is becoming our new world with this because it's hard enough out there, let me tell you, trying to find
girl.
a boyfriend, a girlfriend, and somebody that actually listens and does all those things. So
Mm,
I think that this is just going to be an added layer to why do I have to deal with this now? So
mhm.
that does worry me a little bit, but
Yeah, it's almost like adding, we talked about in a previous episode, we talked about body image and kind of the impact of, social media and how we can doctor all of the photos and things. So now are we setting this like emotionally
yeah.
unattainable perfectionist level as created by AI, that now that's something else
Mm.
that we have to strive to achieve that's
Ah.
impossible. I
No,
don't
I
know. I
don't
don't
want
want to make it
to.
all cons though either, because I do
No,
think it can be a valuable tool for sure.
100% if
Yeah.
used in the right way. That's all. Yeah. Great answers. Deborah and Kelly, I hope that we gave you some good insight and some good tips
Yeah.
on that. For anybody else that has questions, you guys please send in your questions like this. I'm happy to read them on air. Amy and I can give you guys some responses if you're dealing with anything within your life or relationships, dating. We're here to help. So feel free to email at Andrea at from Mrs. the number 2 Ms.com, and we'll get those questions maybe on the air. But for sure we'll get them answered. So I am happy that you were here with me for this
Always a
conversation. I
blast.
knew you'd have some good tips and stuff. So we've got lots of good conversations coming up for you guys in the future. Her and I
Yes,
have, yeah, we talk about all kinds of stuff and we're not afraid to go there. So
we are not
please
afraid.
join us. We're not afraid. So Amy, tell them where they can find you if they have questions or
Yes.
want some fabulous coaching.
Cool. Yeah. So I'm Amy Watts, Watts on Facebook, and you can find me on Instagram at So She Did Coaching.
Love it. She's fabulous.
Yeah.
You guys go check her out. You can find me on
Yep.
any major streaming platform. You can listen from Mrs. to Ms. There's over 100 episodes from soup to nuts. So go listen and
Cool.
hear all the good stuff. And you guys, you can reach me on social media at from.mrs.the2.ms. All right, you guys, we will see you next week. Thank you for joining us. Have a good one. Bye.
See ya. Bye.
Bye-bye.